I'm joined now by Lee Gelernt, Deputy Director of the ACLU's Immigrants' Rights Project. Lee, thank you so much for joining me. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
So let's start off by talking about the lawsuit that you filed overnight against the Biden administration for its new asylum policies. What specifically does this lawsuit contend? What are you asking for?
So we will ultimately be asking for the policy to be vacated. We believe it's unlawful in the same way that the Trump administration asylum bans were unlawful. I argued those cases under the Trump administration. We prevailed in those cases. We believe that this policy has the same core illegality. Now, the Biden administration is striving to say, well, these policies are different because they have some legal pathways. We welcome additional legal pathways, but they can't be as a substitute for people reaching the border who are in desperate need of asylum not being able to apply. And moreover, as a factual matter, I think the administration would have to admit that the legal pathways are far too limited for the people who need them. And they're also geared effectively to more sophisticated immigrants using the app or finding a sponsor. So we do not think the policy is at all legal, and that's why we're in court. But I want to step back for a second and hit a fundamental point that you have consistently made and that Julia made today, is that behind this, there's a real human dimension. Mm-hmm. People do not want to come to the United States, drag their children, and leave their homes unless they are really desperate and in danger. We have an obligation under the law to at least screen them. No one is saying that they can come in just because they're poor. That's not a basis for asylum. But if they genuinely are in fear and can make out their claim, they're entitled to asylum. We have not been even giving them a hearing, and this policy will turn most people back without even a genuine asylum hearing. This should have been a moment for the United States to reset. We ended Title 42 way too long. The ACLU was in court with our partners, as we are now, on Title 42. It finally has ended. We should have stepped back and said, the United States is now going to finally rejoin other nations in providing asylum. And just to be clear, another point that you hit in the beginning, so much of this is about planning and the Biden administration not playing politics and waiting until the last minute. The United States clearly has the resources to do this, and NGOs are begging the federal government to allow them into the process. And you saw in California it works better than Texas. Why aren't we using best practices? We can do this. We cannot have a system where we just don't even screen people for danger.
And you're right, and we will continue to debate how prepared or unprepared the administration was. But let me follow up with you on the legal argument you are making. And the Biden administration, I would anticipate, as you said, will argue there are still pathways to seek asylum, and will likely also argue that communities like El Paso are being stretched to their breaking point, and that in and of itself is also creating dangerous situations for these migrants. How do you answer that piece of the argument from the Biden administration, who would argue that is why they had to toughen these asylum laws?
So I think you're raising two different points. One is a legal point and one is a policy point, and I want to hit both of them. On the legal point, Congress could not have been clearer. We have to screen people for asylum, whether or not they come to a port of entry. That's explicitly in the statute Congress has enacted. And the reason they've done that, to follow international law, is many people cannot find their way to a port of entry or use a legal pathway if it exists. Sometimes cartels are pushing them places. Sometimes they might be with a 2-year-old child and they can't walk the 200 miles to a port of entry. So Congress was crystal clear in following international law. It doesn't matter how you get to the border. If you're in danger, you must be screened. Now, the question of whether El Paso is being strapped, I mean, that goes to planning. And I also don't think that it's going to remain the case. And so we cannot judge whether the United States, after all these years, is going to abandon having an asylum system and be a refuge for people in danger by what's happening over a few weeks because of the lack of planning. We have to get this system under control. I agree that we need to deal with the humanitarian crisis on the ground, but we can do that. But we can't say the United States after World War II is going to scrap having an asylum policy. That's just not a place we can be.
Lee, let me ask you, because we've heard the DHS secretary say that this all goes back to the fact that we have a broken immigration system. There's no debate about that. Everyone agrees. And yet, for decades, Congress has been unable to reach an agreement when it comes to immigration reform. How responsible do you hold Congress for this moment? And also, do you think there is any possibility, and I'm asking you to put a slightly different hat on right now, for some measured reform in this moment, given the fact that this crisis is impacting, yes, border cities, but also cities all across the country, quite frankly?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. I am not sure. Right now, it doesn't look hopeful to have comprehensive immigration reform. What I see are people playing politics and only want to do half of it and cut off asylum in the United States. But I agree, politics has played a huge role. Having said that, the system may need reform, and we would like to see reform, but there are laws in place to allow the administration to screen people quickly. They don't have to let people stay in the country a long time if they don't have even a credible asylum claim. They have enough resources. They can't not do all these things and then say, well, we wanted Congress to do it. I mean, they need to do what they need to do right now and then hope that Congress at some point reforms the system. But there are families and little children. You've been down there. I mean, we've had clients forever. You just see these families, and it's heartbreaking because they are in real danger, and we are just turning them around without even giving them a chance to make their case. And I fear that we've so dehumanized these people that we even are thinking, if President Trump is reelected, he has said, I'll go back to family separation. I can tell you as the counsel in that case, there are still 1,000 children, up to 1,000 children from that first time we separated, when the Trump administration separated families, who are still not 5 years later back with their parents. So I think all of this is to the point where we are just saying, these people don't really matter. We have to send them back. We have to have some perspective. There is no reason to believe that these are the people, these families, these are bringing in fentanyl or joining gangs. That's not what's going on.
All right, Lee Gelernt, thank you so much for your perspective and giving us new information about the lawsuit that the ACLU filed overnight. We really appreciate it. Good to talk to you.
Thank you for having me back again.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.